Hello friends, and welcome. My name's Popeye, and today we're playing some Steins Gate 0. And welcome to this special stream that's to make up for missing 2 streams this past week. And oh, what's this? Deadbeard did something he shouldn't have off stream, and I'm replaying it anyways? Take that, Deadbeard. Take that for wasting your money off stream. He sent it with the message, "Ban me, daddy," and he was banned. He's back now, I think, but it's not worth checking. So hello everyone. Yeah, sorry about missing the last 2 streams. Wednesday, I had a lot of work, as well as it was the day of, boycotting Twitch, which just happened to work out, because I hadn't had time to look into it. But it was definitely a worthwhile thing to support, and if you haven't heard about it, look it up. And then yesterday I was at a family thing. I'm glad to see you enjoyed that, Chaos. And hello, Hero. So we're going to be playing some Steins Gate 0. As always, let me give you a rundown of this game, because this game has some pretty mature themes. If any of these themes are not for you, please find some place that'll make you feel more comfortable tonight. This game includes themes such as death, murder, torture, rape, kidnapping, blood, gore, any of those things against a minor. Once again, if you missed any of those, feel free to ask again, or look down below in the description where I have a list of trigger warnings that are common for a lot of my games. Last time, what did we do last time? So we're on the true ending path. I remember that much. I think we'd replayed a bunch of the stuff that we'd seen in the bad ending, and we were getting to the point where Maho had come to Japan to secretly work on the time machine with Daru. I think that's about all I remember, to be entirely honest, but, alright, how could I forget we ended on a shower scene? 'Cause, screw me. Yeah, so Maho is here, working hard. Gosh dang it, Hero, stop that. Oh, what's this? We have a hero raid. So she went to go take a shower, and of course she doesn't want Okabe to know that she's helping Daru with the time machine, but she's stuck in the shower room and her clothing's outside, 'cause plot reasons. Thank you, Japan. You are raiding me, but it's not a me raid. There's a big difference. So with that refresher, I think we're good to dip back in. So Daru and Okabe are in this main room, and I almost said Hero. Maho is trapped in the bathroom without her clothes, because I don't know, plot reasons. Daru greeted me as I came inside the lab. He seemed to be in kind of a hurry. Room smelled kind of like smoke. Alright, because they were testing the time machine and it exploded everywhere. And there was like black soot and everything. That's why she took a shower. There's your plot reason. It's totally not because of her eyes. Someone must have been using the shower room because the smoky smell was mixed with the scent of soap. But whoever it was, it definitely wasn't Daru. His face and clothes were blackened with soot. But we didn't feel like drawing this, so you get nothing. I thought it might be Suzuha, but the lights in the shower room were turned off. Do we have our phone? Yes, we have our phone. But I can't message people.
だが断る。
まだ何も言ってないだろう。
オカリンの持ってきた話がまともだったことなんて一度もないんで。
まあ聞けって。
I mean, he's got a point. For once, Daru's actually making some
レスキ
sense.
ネン教授と食事に行ったんだ。それで留学の話になったんだけど。
ああ、またその話か。
I was keeping in touch with Dr. Luskin. Of course, the professor knew that Maho was here in Japan. Yesterday, he showed me a picture of her taken in Okinawa. I could see her standing in the surf with a blank expression on her face. A friend or family member must have taken it. Dr. Luskin had been really nice to me, and I talked to him a lot about going to Victor-Condria. Of course, at the minimum, I needed to graduate my current school and pass the exchange exam for Victor-Condria.
せっかくだからダルのことも教授に話してみたんだ。そうしたら興味を持ってくれた。
え、僕？
ビクトル・コンドリア大学には情報科学研究所っていうところがあってな。世界最高のハッカーが集まってるらしいんだよ。
Caffeine plus donuts? I hope they're Canadian donuts, although that would take you a very long time to get.
ダルの腕なら
Also, any university program that's like, we accept all hackers, just seems like a police trap to me. I'd been inviting Daru to come to America with me, but he didn't seem that interested. He'd said things like, I can't imagine living away from the otaku mecca, and no way am I living anywhere you can't get H games and anime figures. I guess that rules Australia out as well. He'd done nothing but give excuses like that. He has donuts and he doesn't even share.
とりあえず教授に会ってみるだけならどうだ。面識だってあるんだし。
今忙しいんだお。
一日ぐらいなら時間作れるだろう。
コミマが終わるまでは無理かな。
1ヶ月以上先じゃないか。
とにかくしばらくは無理。いや、
本当に言い訳ばっかりだな。そんなに行きたくないのか？
I sighed and sat down on the sofa. This room really was hot as hell during the summer. The windows were open and the fans were running at full speed. I was still sweating. There was an air conditioner, but evidently he wasn't using it.
毒ペって置いてあるか？
さあどうだったかな。マヨシが買い置きしてるかも。
I got up and took a look at the fridge in the corner of the room. There was regular soda, mineral water, and some sports drinks. Not a single Dr. P. As usual, the freezer was stuffed with juicy fried chicken. Tic-tac-toe symbol 1. Mayuri really did buy a ton of this stuff. Wait, was there even more than usual? Maybe she'd bought some for Suzuha, too.
スポーツドリンクもらうぞ。
鈴葉の飲みかけ以外なら OK。
I grabbed an unopened bottle and took a big gulp. I happened to take a look at the snack shelf next to the fridge. Mixed in with the instant noodles and snacks were 5 bunches of bananas. Mayuri must have bought those, too. But still, all that fried chicken, and now these bananas. Wait, do you guys put your bananas in the fridge? I just leave mine on the counter. Are you supposed to put bananas in the fridge? Was she eating more than she had been? She always said that no matter how much she ate, she never got fat, but... She bought this many bananas at once. They're all gonna turn brown and squishy before she could eat them all.
マユリのやつ、バナナを買いすぎじゃないか？
ああ、それ買ってきたのマヨシじゃなくて僕。あ。
ん？
Daru quickly cut himself off. I turned toward him and he averted his gaze. He's been acting really weird this whole time. Bananas go brown much faster in the fridge. They're meant to be on the counter. Okay, glad to know I haven't been, like, just using bananas wrong my whole life. Is he hiding something?
お前がこんなに買ったのか？いつから バナナ好きになった。
Man, don't grill him about his banana fetish. Let him
い
be.
やほら鈴葉に言われてるんだって。ダイエットにいいから毎日食べろってさ。
そういえば昔そんなダイエットが流行ったな。
Some celebrity gone on TV and said she'd lost a bunch of weight on a banana diet. Next day, all the bananas in Japan disappeared from stores. So Hero... I guess this was before your time, but in the first game of this, when they were testing their time machine, they would put a banana in, run it, and it would turn into this weird green goopy gel version of itself. So that's why they have so many bananas. Is he's secretly testing the time machine. Was this suspicious? Heroes using this command? Seems suspicious to me. Yeah, for us, we put the bananas in just like a fruit dish on the can. My mom also read this online. I don't know how it works, but apparently you're supposed to keep your bananas away from your green apples because it makes the bananas go brown fast. I don't know how that works. Oh, I said I'm glad I haven't been using bananas wrong. I mean, I eat my bananas. I like most all of my fruit. I like very not ripe. My bananas, I like them like just a little bit of green and then yellow. Once it starts spotting, I'm like, ugh, I don't like it. Like we got a bunch of pears from our neighbor. I like my pears when they're like still hard, and once they start going like softer, I don't like them as much. You also heard me say clothes outside earlier. Normally, you don't wear clothes under your skin. It's... and your bananas and bread. Bananas and bread is fine. Like, we have a bunch of bananas in the freezer that are just gone fully, like, brown black at this point. That will be made into bread at some point. But no, pears... I like my pears hard. My dad had tried to get in on the boom a little too late and bought a huge supply of bananas, only to see it flare out and most of them rot on the shelves. I remembered that. Yeah. Know what I don't like? I don't like an overpowering banana taste in a smoothie. Like bananas are like a staple in a bunch of smoothies, but I don't want my smoothie to, like, taste like banana. I want my smoothie to taste like fruit. Like a berry kind of fruit. So, like, I want it to taste like strawberry or raspberry or something. Yeah, there's supposed to be a filler. Like, that's fine. Like, I'm fine with that portion of it. But I got a booster juice the other day, and it was strawberry, raspberry, banana, acai berry, and yogurt, I think is what it was. And there was an overpowering taste of banana at the end. I'm like, no, banana's the filler in this. It should not be going over top of all these berries. I was hungry, so I decided to take one. I took a banana and peeled the skin. I finished the banana in 3... Wait, in 3 bites? Okay. So my banana's about this big. Why did I say it? Gosh dang it. A banana's about this big. And he finished it in about 3 bites. So he's eaten... What's that? About 3 inches each bite? Yeah, berry flavor is good. Berry flavor is almost always good. I went to toss the peel in the burnable trash can. And then I noticed something strange. Yeah, I'm at least glad I didn't go like, so my banana's this big. At least I went big on it. The can was filled with bananas. More than anybody could possibly eat. Over half the can was filled up with bananas. And it wasn't just the skins. Some of them were unpeeled, but half rotten, and the summer heat made them give off a nasty stench. I remembered seeing something like this once before. Oh, are we gonna get a picture of the gel nanas? That's right. That's when I was living here a year ago, doing experiments every day. Kira, what did you say? I don't even see it. That was like pre-banned before I could even see what it was. And after like one of the other ones that were like Candy got banned, or not banned, got her message got deleted because she used the lull emote. Oh, it was a link. I mean, give it to Chaos, he can post the link. I actually turned down a bunch of my filters. I was like, whatever. I my streams are 18 plus. I mean, if I literally have streams where it's like, today we're talking about raping this girl over and over again, and I'm like, great content. But yeah, you can't post any swears. Oh, it's a clip. I read that as Dark Deadbeard. Dark Dead Dove OS Frog. I assume that's a clip of my banana. Then my mind flashed back to the contents of the fridge. A bizarre stockpile of juicy fried chicken. It couldn't be. I plunged my hand into the garbage can, not caring about the filth. Gar was clearly uneasy, but I ignored him. I was right. Under the remains of the bananas, I saw tons of boxes of empty fried chicken. Well, I'm sure that'll get shouted out at some point in time. Thanks, Hero. Anyone who does like the shoutout clips of my channel, like it's 50% of the time it's something normal, and then 50% of the time it's something sexual. And you made this decision when you shoutout clipped me. No matter how much Mayuri liked them, or how much of a glutton Dara was, no one would voluntarily eat this much frozen fried chicken every day. I went deeper into the garbage can. Then I found something I didn't want to see.
Daru.
Nanzo?
Deadbeard already has the link, unless... I mean, Deadbeard was already in here. Let's shame Deadbeard again for resubscribing. Like, why would you do that? 15 months in a row? Yeah. Of course you get scolded and called out for it.
1年くらい前か。よくこうして実験してたよな。かなり無駄な使い方してたから、真由里によく怒られた。食べ物を粗末にしちゃダメだって。
そうだね。
しょうがないから、電子レンジで温かくなったバナナも。俺たちで食べて処分したよな。
Warmed banana sounds disgusting.
あれはひどい味だった。
Why? What? Just guys, you didn't have to eat them. If all you wanted was for Mayuri not to see them, you just had to take the bananas and put them in a garbage can that's just somewhere else. Just put them in a bag, tied up, go to one of those garbage cans along the street by the subway, drop it in, done. Oh, of course Deadbeard's getting the link. It's not like it's something he hasn't seen already.
でもさすがにこれは食べられなかったよ。
What I pulled out of the garbage can was... Oh, here's wonderful gel nanas. Hope no one's eating. Chaos, hold on to your donuts. So we got a green gooey mass. It was a thick, disgusting liquid, like you'd expect to see if you crushed a giant bug. The goo dripped out of my fingers and splattered onto the floor. It was what used to be a banana. Wait, why did you do the whole bunch at once? Do one banana at a time. You could have done 4 experiments with this one bunch of bananas. Well, dude, once called a gel nana. That's not what you call your grandmother. Daru put his hands to his head. But then he evidently gave up on hiding it.
こんなあっさりバレちゃったか。もうちょっと隠し通せると思ったんだけどな。実際さ、目処がついたらちゃんと相談したいこともあったし、打ち明ける予定ではあったんだけど。
Daru tossed me the towel. Evidently, he'd already used it because it was covered in black soot. I decided to wipe the gel nana off my hands with it anyway. Daru went into the development room and started moving boxes and dust covers.
ほれ、これが2号機。
And on the table appeared the horrible future gadget Tic-Tac-Toe 8, which I'd built, improved, and finally dismantled a year ago.
組み立て直したのか。
電話レンジカッコ仮バージョン2とどっちがいいか結構迷った。
名前なんてどうでもいい。
マジ？オカリンの言葉とは思えないな。どの未来ガジェットもさ、円卓会議やって大騒ぎして名前決めたじゃん。
黒歴史だろう。
そう？
Daru was looking at the dust-covered future gadgets that were sitting on the shelf of the development room. There was something like fondness in his gaze. Why the hell was he acting like this? Did he think of that nightmare as some kind of happy, youthful memory? I was about to tell him to go screw himself, but held it in. I'm sure his H games will tell him that as well.
お前、俺が言ったことを忘れたのか。
Can this... First of all, this game's rated like 18 plus. Can they not drop an F-bomb in it? I feel like they already have. I mean... We've seen people get shot in the head. We've talked about raping people, so I mean...
これは危険だ。俺たちが持っていて一種のものじゃない。
うん、けどさ、僕未来でタイムマシン作らないといけないんだよね。そうするとやっぱこいつを研究することがその第一歩だと思うわけ。
誰
I gave up on trying to hold it back. I got up in his face and yelled at him. Except Daru can probably take us, because we are a toothpick. And his arm is probably thicker than we are.
何度も話したよな。こいつのせいで何が起こったのか。こいつのせいで俺がどんな体験をしたのか。これを作ったことでマユリは殺されるんだ。
Deadbeard will be here soon. Okay. I'll see you soon. Daru can one punch.
これを作ったことでお前の娘は過去へ飛んで自殺までしたんだ。忘れたって言うならもう一度話してやろうか。お前はそんなにバカだったのか。自分でそれを体験してみないとわからないほどバカだったのか。バカはあなたよ、岡部倫太郎。
Please tell me you have clothes on. Fingers ready. I suddenly heard an angry female voice behind me. Good enough. I looked back and saw Maho Hyajo glaring at me. Is he sweetening me up for the banana? Yes, Deadbeard. Yes, we have the bananas clip. I mean, you are Chef Long Parts. I guess I'm Long Banana Man. I don't know if that's any better. I don't think it is. At least you're a chef. Hello, Samuses. Samuses, if you want to see everything you've missed, Besides seeing a totally legally aged person in a towel, check out that clip Deadbeard just posted. Also, I hope I'm not late. I don't want any kids right now. Why is this pan absolutely necessary? Or no, tilt. Why is this tilt necessary? At least you're shut. Thank you for the quote. Is that wow at my clip? Yeah, Sam says, I was glad at least I gave it a very generous length. I would have been so much worse if I'm like, yeah, this big. Not as proud as I am of my tennis ball. Which, I don't think I have my tennis ball nearby anymore. Maho quickly went back into the shower room and came out dressed a moment later. Dame's gosh dang it. Ella stole the ball. I mean, next to me I've got... How many juggling balls have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... I've got 8 balls next to me. Not that I could ever use any, like, more than 4, realistically. I can't even juggle 4. I only need 2. Both the professor and I were completely taken in by that picture of her standing on the Okinawan beach. It seemed we'd both been tricked. It was well made enough that Daru must have been involved. Yeah, Samus's. This stream used time travel to get here. That's why it's on a different day. Did you not get my D-mail about it? Is that why you're covered? I don't know why you're covered in goo. Did Chaos finally give you a donut? My brain just went, maybe he Boston creamed all over you, and I'm like, no, why? Gosh dang it, brain. I love that that's the part that gets quoted. Thank you, Deadbeard. Okay, let's learn about Echelon. An advanced communications monitoring system said by conspiracy theorists to be owned by the US government. It said that the system is operated by America's National Security Agency, the NSA. The US government has never publicly admitted to its existence, and no proof of it has ever been found. Participating countries supposedly include America, England, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. France is not included among them. Japan is what's called a third party, which receives information in exchange for putting an Echelon receiving station in their country. It's rumored that the Elephant Cage, a massive antenna array found at the Misawa Air Base in Aomori, is actually part of Echelon. It supposedly intercepts a wide variety of messages from military traffic to individual cell phones, all of which is stored and monitored. Chaos only gives you migraines. That's a donut flavor I'm not aware of. Thank you for the host, Deadbeard. Oh yeah, Deadbeard. Now that you're back, I can do this yet again. This is the 3rd time I'm scolding Deadbeard for resubscribing, because he shouldn't have. So there you go. You're not back yet. It doesn't count. Samus's. How many points did you have? Didn't you want to juggle? Well, you don't get one now. Instead, all you get is this finger. You see this? You get the Phoenix Wright finger in your face. I hope that's what you wanted, because you just wasted all your points. Shame on you. I then had a terrifying thought. It was about Boston cream donuts, and stared directly into Maho's eyes. Did you want to juggle? Because all you're getting now is this finger. Gosh dang it. That part of the stream will be so good for your blackmail screenshots. No way. She of all people couldn't possibly. And caption it, oh god, please no shower scenes, I've got my hand on it. Well, you got a finger, now you got a hand. I trusted Maho completely, and I didn't want to believe she was capable of it. But the terrible machine I just confronted had drained me of any kind of rationality. Flashback felt like it was going to hit me any second. Images of Kurisu and Mayuri's deaths are flashing through my mind. Gotta make more posters for Beardy's long parts. And so, I said something I never should have said.
君はまさか世界線をアルファに戻したいのか？え？クリスが生きていて、マユリが死んでいる世界を望むのか？
And Samus's has redeemed a hydrate. Here's her hydrate. I told you Daru could take us. No one listened to me. There was an impact on my cheek. And it clapped. Very loud. In my ears. Gosh dang it. Chef Longparts. When completing a dish of... When completing a dish of mashed strong chicken soup, consider asking someone to enrich the product thoroughly. $if 1 = 1 with an excess of agony, like your life depends on it. There have now been 179 questionable cooking tips. How is that even possible? Deadbeard just logged in as Slavebeard and pasted that command result in. However, I can see that there's an issue with this thing because I see Python code. Slavebeard isn't here, but Slavebeard's a VIP. Why is Slavebeard subscribed? Guys, why? The next thing I knew, I was lying on the ground face up. It was a while before I understood what had happened. The left half of my face felt like it was on fire. I was punched? By Daru? Probably for the same reason why Nightbot is subbed. False code in the wrong channel. I'd known him for 5 years, and this was the first time anything like that had happened. Slavebeard doesn't need access to my emotes. No one needs access to my emotes. Don't even think about it. Nightbot does not need to be subbed. You broke everything. What do you mean I'm lacking quotes? I have, what, 115 quotes now? That's like 100 more than I thought I'd ever have. Suspicious. Oh, sure, an anonymous gifter has gifted a sub to Nightbot. I wonder who it was. Who is gifted Nightbot every other sub? When finding out how big my banana was, Deadbeard said this in response. Please do not eat your Chinese burger in the meat shower. Dang it, Chaos. Yeah, it was Chaos's fault. Let's blame him. We blamed him 52 other times. Why not blame him some more? Maho grabbed Daru's body and tried to hold him back.
話せこいつもっとぶん殴ってやらないとわかんないんだよ
もう十分よ今ので十分だから落ち着いて
This time, Maho put her hand on Daru's shoulder.
後の説明は私がしておくわ顔でも洗ってきなさいほら
She pointed towards the shower room, and Daru finally seemed to get control of himself again.
わかった
He looked a little awkward as he lowered his fist. Nightbot is on a 3-month streak. The developer of Nightbot must really like me. Yeah, just like Sexy Jedi and Foot Fetish and whoever else has been subscribed to my channel. Yeah, like. Normally, he hated any kind of seriousness, so in a situation like this, he'd always tell one of his perverted gentleman jokes. But there were no jokes as he vanished beyond the curtain into the shower room. A moment later, I could hear the sound of the water. Samus will scold you for free, there you go. Ma was looking down at me.
そうだな。すまなかった。今のは決して本心じゃ。
Do it, you won't. And he's already done it. Gotta get them foot fetish sponsorships. I mean, you barely see my feet. You sometimes see my feet when I'm juggling or stretching. Well, let's be honest. If people were willing to pay for my feet, I'd show them. Don't give me any bits for my feet. Do not give me bits for my feet. I grabbed her hand and slowly got up. I'd taken a solid hit when I wasn't expecting it, so my head was still a little dizzy. Samus is a time note hero. Reason scold.
普段優しいやつが怒ると聞くな。
そうね。しかも自分のためじゃなく、他の誰かのために怒れる人は。
And I wasn't following because I saw that there was a possibility of OnlyFans going away, and then they were like, "Nah, it's not going away." So like, I guess people still get their foot pics. Maho seemed a bit happy. She looked towards the shower room.
見直したのは少しだけなのか。
だって私への言動がいつもセクハラばっかりだもの。
もしかしたら君のことが好きになったのかもしれないぞ。子供がよくやるだろう。好きな子に意地悪するとか、あれと同じだ。あいつ頭の中子供だからな。
冗談じゃないわ。鈴葉さんを私の娘にしたいわけ？
それはまずいな。
I chuckled a bit, but quickly stopped and turned to face Maho. The difference between our heights was so great that I was looking down on her.
俺の主観で言えば、この世界はクリスの選択のおかげで存在してるんだ。クリスがいたから。マイリは無事でいられる。幸せに暮らしていられる。それを俺も守らなくちゃいけない。君は科学者だ。俺なんかよりずっと優れた頭脳の持ち主だ。だから理解できるだろう。この世界の摂理を。
ええ。
Maho quietly
それ
nodded.
は言ってみれば。
You have good news and you have bad news. I'll roll for it. Odds good news, evens bad news. Odds, give me the good, or sorry. Gosh dang my brain. 18 is even. Bad news first then.
神に人間が挑むなんて無謀だったんだ。なのに俺はそれに何回も何十回も何百回も挑んで全てが失敗に終わった。無駄だったんだ。
Fair enough. I respect people sticking to their boundaries, especially because it's Sunday stream. I'm pretty sure the US is Labor Day weekend as well, but I know people don't like to mess up their stream, or not their stream, their sleep schedule, so I respect that. What's the good news?
人の傲慢を神は決して許さない。
A thing that exists tomorrow?
そうね。
Oh, Labor Day is a thing that exists tomorrow. Gotcha. Yes, that was good news. Yeah, whenever you want to take off, Samus's, by all means, please take off. You can even leave with a silly quote if you want. Ma was looking out the window, as if she was thinking back to her homeland and
神とい
ancestors.
うのは私の祖国やあるいは沖縄の人たちの間でもポピュラーな存在として信じられているわ。
The final judgment in Cutthroat Kitchen.
私も祖父母や父母からその素敵な考えを教えられてきた。科学に身を捧げるものではあるけれど決して神を侮ったりはしない。
それなら
Maho shook her head a little and looked up at me with a piercing
けど
gaze.
ね、あなたが盛んに口にする神はそれとは全く違う。
Her words were sharp, with no room for
世界
disagreement.
の摂理ですって。そんなものはただこの世界を構築している数式に過ぎないわ。神なんて立派なものは介在していないし、私たちに解が導けない道理はないのよ。
I was about to respond, but before I could, Maho went inside the development room. Whenever Samus goes to bed, I make sure to whisper in his ears, I would do Popeye dates, Daddy. I feel like that just gives you nightmares. I had no choice but to follow her. I was watching another stream earlier today, and they had, basically the dumb exclamation mark quote thing as part of a channel reward. So you'd put in, like, the preamble. So, you know, whenever I go to bed, Popeye makes sure to whisper in my ear, blah. That would be the text you'd enter in the channel reward. And then it would automatically append to it a random quote. Make Pop Beard a thing. Is that like Popcat? You just want me to go like... Is that what you wanted? Or did you actually want it to like appear out of my beard and like... Pop, 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 pop. That's terrifying.
安心しなさい。D メールは今の時点では封印してある。
Beard pie? I do not have pie to put in my beard. Also, that would be a waste of pie.
あなたの懸念しているような事態は起こらないし、
Dead pop beard pie.
アルファ世界線に戻させたりもしない。
Is that our joint name? Yeah, have a good night, Samus's. Daddy Obi-Wang? Is that what we're going for? Sexy Daddy Obi-Wang?
もちろん D メールの危険を回避する方法もエシュロンを無効化する策も橋田さんと検討中よ。ただ今はその検証にリソースを割くより先にやらなくてはならないことがあるの。個人的にもね。
Maho tapped to the phone wave, Unit -02.
今私たちが研究しているのはクリスが成し遂げたというタイムリープの方。
じゃあタイムリープしかできないのか。それ
そういうことになるわね。
He was right. I was looking at the time leap machine, not the phone wave. Name subject to change. I could tell they'd recreated all the improvements that Chris had made to the phone wave. Most obvious was the PC and monitor that were connected to the microwave. And connected to the PC was a headset, what looked like a cord covered in electrodes. In this world line, only I knew the details of how the time leap machine was set up, and I hadn't told Daru or Maho about them. In other words, with only some small hints, Maho had managed to create the same thing as Krisu.
正直なところ、とても悔しいわ。
悔しい。
研究すればするほど、やっぱり私はクリスにはなれないって思い知らされるのよ。記憶をデータ化して、それをトップダウン検索信号込みで携帯電話に転送する。そこまではできるの。ただ、最大の問題がクリアできない。クリスはそれをやってのけたのに。
データの圧縮。
Okay, Chaos, while you're in the shower, all of chat will just be thinking, "You're clearly inside the machine, child." There you go, hope that makes your shower more enjoyable. Maho nodded.
何テラバイトもある膨大な記憶データをどうやって圧縮するのか。その謎が私ではどうしても解けない。
That was the part that Krisu had struggled with the most, too. In the end, with Daru's help, she'd been able to do it.
あなたはクリスから何か聞いているのかしら。その方法を。
She seemed a little unhappy as she asked me that. Asking for the answer meant giving up on finding the solution for herself, so it meant admitting defeat. Maybe that was really hard for her. At least her neighbors don't break in and shower hydrate you. Yet she chosen to put completing the machine first, but I had no intentions of giving her the answer right away.
俺の経験したことを話したときに約束をしたよな。覚えてるか？タイムマシンでマキセクリスを救おうなんて絶対に考えるな。
ええ。
今でもその約束を守るつもりがあるか？その気がないなら協力はできない。
Maho didn't answer for a while. Without even looking at her face, I could tell she was being torn apart inside.
もちろん守るわ。あなたとの約束だもの。
After a long pause, she gave her answer. I couldn't help but laugh.
嘘が下手だな。そんな顔をしていたらすぐにバレる。話は終わったな。
Then I left the development room. I looked towards the shower room. I could still hear the sound of falling water from within. Daru was showing no signs of being done.
なあ、ダル。バカは俺だった。本当にすまなかった。
I spoke, but there was no answer. Maybe he hadn't heard me. It seemed better for both of us if I apologized tomorrow.
明日来るから。
That was all I said as I headed towards the door.
岡部さん。
Maho followed me. He came up to me so fast she almost slammed
ス
into
タイン
me.
ズゲートは実在すると思う？まゆりさんが死ぬことなく、そしてクリスも犠牲にならない、そんな狭間の世界線があると思う？
それを目指した俺の顛末を知りたいなら鈴葉に聞くといい。結局運命には逆らえなかった。あんなのはくだらない妄想だよ。
そう言い切ってしまって本当にいいの？ないと証明されたわけではないのよ。
そんなのまさに悪魔の証明じゃないか。そんな証明誰にもできるわけがない。
Devil's proof. Said to be originally developed by a jurist in medieval Europe during a case over possession rights. It's used as a hypothetical today in other contexts, such as law or politics, during discussions of rule violations. For example, if someone were to tell you to prove that the devil exists, you could in turn demand proof that the devil does not exist. Then when they failed to provide that proof, you could say, since you can't prove the devil doesn't exist, he must exist. This is, of course, simple sophistry that proves nothing at all, but since it can turn a bait into an endless loop, traditionally the burden of proof is placed on the first person to make a statement.
そうよ。あるのかないのかも証明されていないのに、あなたはたった一度失敗したくらいで諦めた。
Maho was gritting her teeth hard.
呆れてしまうわ。
何
I almost went out of control and grabbed her by the shoulders, but I managed to stop myself at the last
さっ
second.
きも言っただろう。俺はそれ以前に何回も何十回も何百回も挑んで。
私も言ったはずよ。それは神の摂理でも何でもないって。世界線もタイムマシンもシュタインズゲートなんてものもどれも世界を構築するただの数式に過ぎない。何回も何十回も何百回も失敗した。だからなんだというの？そんなの科学の世界では当たり前のことよ。それで失敗したのなら何千回も何万回も何億回も挑戦すればいい。そうすれば必ずそこに解放は見つかる。
君は何も知らないし経験していないからそんな無責任なことが言えるんだ。
いいえ、嫌というほど経験してきたわ。失敗も挫折も後悔もその痛みもマキセ・クリスという天才のせいで。
数式に感情はないだろう。
数式を解くのは人間よ。結局のところね。
We were glaring at each other, our faces close enough to kiss. Maho's gaze burned into me. For some reason I couldn't bear to look at her, so I turned away. I turned around without saying a word and tried to head out the door, but she grabbed the hem of my shirt and stopped me. I didn't expect that.
まだ何か用か。
I turned around annoyed. A moment ago her expression had been so fierce, but now she simply wore a sad smile. It was so different that, for a moment I thought I'd jumped world lines. Maho whispered to me. Oh, come on, you can't set me up like this, okay? Maho whispered to me. I blushed with my eyes closed, probably making an ooh-woo face.
あなたこそ嘘が下手ね。
嘘。
Was I lying? I put my hands up to my face, trying to figure out what she meant. That didn't tell me what kind of look I had on my face, of course. I simply stood there confused.
嘘ってなんだ。俺は嘘なんてついてない。
橋田さんに聞いたんだけど、1年前のあなたってタイムマシンに関しては取り付く島もなかったんですってね。シュタインズゲートの話なんてそれこそ論外。口にするのもはばかられるほどだったって。
一体何を言って。
でも今は違うわ。だって
Hi back, I'm
あなた
Popeye.
のその顔、私が以前よくしていた顔と同じだもの。
You got a call from your grandmother who said, "Let's just hydropump this child from behind."
クリスに実証実験で負けて、論文の評価でも負けて、名声でも負け
Classic
続けて
grandbeard.
落ち込んで、もうダメだって思って。けどいつも最後は 鏡を見て自分を叱りつけた。
We had like over 100 quotes in basically the past year. Maho pointed to her own heart with her
挑
index
戦する
finger.
のを諦めたら終わり。そうしたら永遠に勝つことはできないってね。
Then she pointed at my left breast.
今のあなた
I
は
mean, left eye.
その時の私と同じ顔よ。心の奥の奥ではまだリベンジする気でいる。
Since you become asbestos later? Became affiliated. I was like, what asbestos? Like, that sounds like a very bad stream if you just watch some asbestos. I'm trying to think. Yeah, that quote, I think I became affiliated about 2 weeks before that quote is from.
自分をこんな惨めな男へと貶めた。
Which probably means actually, when's quote 0 from? Quote 0. Oh, are you quote 1 index? Is that what you are? Yes, you are. May 19th. That's probably about when I probably put in, because I became affiliated at the end of May, start of June. I probably just didn't have quotes as a thing until like late April, early May. That's probably why. When you started, you looked to your parents in the eye and said, "You're just pushing the sound of me deeper into your head." Whereas now I call them and say, "Please do not eat your Chinese burger in the meat shower." Me, I still hadn't given up.
そんなことはない。
違わないわ。あなたってね、ほんと私にそっくり。まるで胸像みたい。強情で一度言い出したら聞かなくて、自分が間違ったと分かってもそれを絶対に認めたくなくて子供みたいに拗ねて、誰かに心配や迷惑ばかりかける。で、そんなことないよとか少しくらいはフォローしてもらえないとちょっと傷つくわね。けどね、だからこそわかるのよ。私もあなたも最後は絶対に自分の足で立ち上がるの。そうでしょ、岡部倫太郎さん。もう一度言うわ。
I'll just ignore you and open my
あ
cell
ら
phone
ゆる世
again.
界の摂理はただの数式であり、その解放は必ず存在する。私は何としても見つけてやるわ。神なんて介在しない、ただの数式を解く鍵を。そしてマユリさんが死なない、クリスも生きている、狭間の世界線に続く道へとたどり着いてやる。
Saying all that, Maho's a little out of breath. She had a lot of vitality in her tiny body. Her words, the way she looked, it hit me so hard I couldn't speak.
で、あなたはどうするの？岡部所長、ここはあなたのラボなのでしょ？いつまでも所長不在では話にならないのだけれど。
俺は
And then, I got a text message and I ignored her. Lukiko, big trouble, what do I do? Mayuri, I just happened to pass her by, and she was running away crying. I've never seen her so sad. Mayuri was crying? I could tell that something bad was going on. When she saw my shock, Maho looked over at my phone, too. She was crying, what happened? I don't know. I just happened to run into her, so I said hi, and she was crying. I was really surprised, but when I asked what was going on, she was really upset. She said that it was her fault Chris who had died, and that's why you were... Gosh dang it, were you listening at the door? She said she should have died instead, and then she ran away. I ran after her, but I lost her. What do I do? What do I do?
だって
I looked at Maho.
聞かれてたのか今の話。
そういえば
Dara had come out of the shower room at some point and was standing right behind me.
オカリンがラボに来るって知らせてくれたのマユシだ。マユシもここに向かってる途中だって言ってた。
Then that meant there was a good chance she did.
そんな。
Felt like my knees were going to give out. Mayuri existed in this world line because of Krisu's sacrifice. That was the one thing that Mayuri could never find out. Me, Daru, Suzuha, Ferris, Maho, everyone who knew the truth had kept it from her. I needed to find her. I needed to find Mayuri. I couldn't let her be alone right now. I ran out of the lab. Have you tried calling her? Nope, because we're just going to switch to Suzuha instead. Okay.
まだ暑いな。
The summer solstice had passed, and by 6 p.m. the sun was finally setting behind the city's skyline. Part of the sky was still red, and the rest was a dirty blue. For the past few days, Suzuha had worked on the time machine on top of the radio building. It was almost time for her to go back to the past, which meant she was putting a lot more effort into the maintenance work. Parts which could normally get dirty with no trouble had been polished to a sparkling shine.
気負いすぎてるかな。やっぱり不安なのか。
She finished her work, put her tools back in the box, and stored the box in the time machine's cockpit. Then she sat down in the control seat and took another look at the battery gauge. The amount of fuel she had left, in less than a month, she wouldn't be able to go back to July 27th, 2010. Back with dinner? I hope you got some donuts from Chaos then. She had to leave this era before that time limit passed her by. The original plan of taking Rintaro to the past looked like it was going to fail. That meant she'd have to go on the mission that she'd spent the last year coming up with all by herself.
それにしても、父さんってば、これはないよな。
You accidentally grabbed a fork for your mac and cheese. Is Chaos rubbing off on you? Is that what's going on here? She chuckled to herself and stuck her hand deep into the computer core. And the computer was like, ooh, yeah. Inside was an external hard drive that clearly belonged to 2011, not 2036. Tara had probably put it in here when her back was turned. One of the secondary touch panel monitors was displaying a warning that read, "Foreign object detected in cockpit." Chaos admitted the superiority of spoons. Good. See, spoons are superior just for the sole fact that I like my mac and cheese just like a little bit soupy, and then you can use the spoon to pick up some of the soup broth. Soup broth is probably redundant. Mac and cheese broth. These machines were capable of breaking through early 21st century camouflage in less than a second. It was clear from the way the fake wires were laid out that monitoring and data retrieval were not its objectives. Probably hidden it here because he didn't want anyone to find it. Maybe she should just pretend she didn't see it, and we'll leave it here until she was just about to leave. As she pondered the best course of action, she heard the heavy door outside opening. Someone was here. Suzuha pulled her gun from its holster and looked out from the cockpit towards the iron door that led into the building. She still remembered what happened with Kagari the other day. It couldn't hurt to be careful, but when she saw who it was, she relaxed. See, I used to go for like a big tablespoon. I've switched to teaspoons solely because I would just scarf down my food so fast that it wasn't good for me. She put her gun away and jumped out of the cockpit to welcome her. Suzuha had no idea why the always smiling Mayuri would be crying.
どうして えてくれなかったのかな。
え？
クリスさんっていう人とマユシーとの本当のこと教えてくれなかったのかな。
She almost spoke, but quickly cut herself off. How did she hear, and from whom, the cruel truth that Mayuri's survival depended on Krisu Makise's death? There was nothing in the world Suza had wanted to see less than the look on Mayuri's face when she discovered that.
誰に聞いたの？
But there were only a few people who knew the truth, excluding herself only Rintaro, Taro, Ferris, and Maho. None of them would deliberately tell her. That's fair, Hero. That is very fair. Yeah, I guess it's less rushed for me, but I've had like meetings where I'm trying to like scarf down like bites of a sandwich or pasta or something before before I need to talk on the call again. In fact, they'd all hidden it for her sake.
オカリンとマホさんが話しているのを聞いちゃった。
Then it was an accident after all.
ねえすずさん、お話聞いてもいい？
This is part of the normal ending still. So I think we're nearing the end, and after this we have the true ending.
2036年のマユシーとオカリンのこと。
So if I didn't mention this before, all the endings are dedicated to a specific character. So this is the Mayuri ending. Suza wasn't sure what to say. To be honest, she didn't want to say anything at all. It wasn't something that would make her feel better.
未来のことは
After
知
this,
らない方が幸せだよ。
there's directly the true ending. So there's just 2 left, but it's like you finish this ending and then it continues into the true ending because we had to do a bunch of stuff beforehand that unlocked the true ending for this path. Another line of tears spilled down Mayuri's cheek.
マユシーなんてね、この世界にいても何の役にも立たないよ。
I say a lot, like we had to do a lot of stuff. You literally, this game is weird in that you just have to do one other ending, and doing that ending and then saving the game triggers the true ending flag. So if you actually look at the Steam achievements, most people will do that ending and then this ending. So yeah, we're probably almost done with this game. My guess is we probably have, after this, maybe 2 streams left of it.
ずっとずっと必要なんだよ。
Susa suddenly felt like she was looking at the Mayuri she'd known in the future. She saw the big sis Mayu that she'd seen ever since she was a little girl, and she couldn't refuse her request.
私の知ってる未来のマユ姉さんも時々
So what's after this? After this, we'll be going back to finish off the 3rd game in the Trails in the Sky series. So that was the game I was doing before this one, and from what I know, it's different than the previous one. In that it's, first of all, it's much shorter. Second of all, it's like a central dungeon that you keep going back into. And it switches the main character as well, so you play as a different character. And it ties less into the story, I guess. It's more of like a side arc follow-up almost.
そんな時は決まってぼんやりと空を眺めてるんだ。すごく寂しそうで切なそうだったよ。私もかがりもまゆ姉さんのそんな顔を見るのが辛かった。
かがり？
It was only then that she remembered that she'd been keeping Kagari a secret from Mayuri.
かがりっていう名前の女の子がいたんだ。 戦災孤児でさ、まゆ姉さんが引き取ったんだ。だからまゆ姉さんの娘っていうことになる。
まゆしの娘。
優しくてでも強い子でね。まだこんなに小さいうちからいつも言ってた。ママを守るのは自分だって。そんな子だったから、母親であるまゆ姉さんが寂しそうにしてるのはかなり答えてたはず。そういえば7月7日、今日って。
No, it is not a visual novel. It's a JRPG from it's fairly old, the like mid 2000s. The combat for it uses a 2D grid with turn-based combat, but the turns, there's like a sidebar that has like who's coming up next, and like let's say you cast this one spell that takes a lot longer than say this attack, you might like bump yourself like way down and stuff like that. And different turns have different values, like whoever is on turn 3 might have like a increased chance for critical hit, for example. So you can use that knowledge to be like, oh, I'm going to use this quick attack because that means I can get the critical hit and stuff like that.
織姫と彦星が年に一度会うことができる日だって。
And then after that, I've got another JRPG lined up, possibly two. The second one depends on my personal off-stream playing to see if I get to it. And I also want to go back to Uncle Hunter at some point. That's probably coming up soon as well.
大気汚染がひどくて星なんて見えない時代だったけど、まゆ姉さんは言ってたよ。
雲が夜空を覆っていても、星は世界から消えちゃうわけじゃない。雲の向こうで変わらずに輝き続けてるの。だから一緒にお祈りしようね。
But I find it interesting that the thing I get the most requests for is the visual novels. That seems to be what people want the most from this channel.
そんなまゆ姉さんの言葉が私やかがりには希望になったんだ。それだけは知っておいてほしい。少なくとも私やかがりにとってはまゆ姉さんが必要だった。それにオカリンおじさんだって死ぬまでまゆ姉さんのことを大事にしてたんだ。まゆ姉さんの幸せのことばかり考えていたんだ。
死ぬまで。
Dang it, Suzuha. Maybe that was another cruel truth for her, but Suzu decided that she would hold nothing back now.
そうだよ。オカリンおじさんは今から15年後までしか生きられない。まゆ姉さんをかばって死ぬんだ。
嘘。
オカリンおじさんは最後にこう言ってたって父さんに後から聞いた。
Dang it, game, you gotta stop setting me up for it. Okay, our last words were... You ever hug someone so hard you just cave in their face?
まゆりの命を助けることができて本当に良かった。自分はまゆりを守るために生きてきたんだから。
そんな。
Mayuri put both her hands over her mouth.
でもまゆ姉さんはそのことをずっと引きずっていたんだろうな。私たちには見えないところでこっそり七夕の空を見上げてつぶやいてた。
I could add a quote for that one as well, but I can't do it for all of them, otherwise we'll never finish this game.
私の彦星様が復活していたら全てが変わっていたのかな。 日、私の彦星様、私の。
Mayuri was repeating the words to herself. The tears were still pouring down her face. Her sad cries finally came to a stop. She was still shaking, but her voice had gotten quiet.
どういうことなのかな。
私、今ならわかる気がする。1年前、私、オカリンおじさんの態度に本気でムカついたんだ。チャンスが目の前にあるのに、なんで諦めるんだって。そんなオカリンおじさんをかばって甘やかしてるまゆ姉さんのことも本当は許せなかったんだよね。でもさ、この1年ここで暮らしてみて感じたんだ。あの時間違ってたのは私の方だったって。今ならあの日のオカリンおじさんともっとちゃんと話せるかもしれない。
あの日。
それでうまく説得できるかどうか、そこまでは自信ないんだけどね。
As the sun set in the west, the shadow of the time machine lengthened, and Suzuha along with it.
私
Suzuha's
に
along
残
with
され
it.
たチャンスはあと一度だけ。それなら未来のまゆ姉さんの言葉にかけてみようと思う。マキセ・クリスが殺された日じゃなく、まゆ姉さんの言ってたあの日へ飛んで、まゆ姉さんの望みを叶えられるかどうか試してみる。
まゆしの望み。
Suzuha gently rubbed Mayuri's tiny little shoulders.
それがシュタインズゲートへ向かう鍵だって信じてみる。シュタインズゲートを開くことができるのは彦星をやめちゃった普通の星じゃなくって、まゆ姉さんの彦星しかいないような気がするからさ。つまり私が新たに考案したミッションは彦星の復活。父さん流に言うならオペレーションアルタイルとかオペレーションアークライトとか、それともアルタイルとアークライトを結ぶって意味でオペレーションデネブかな。
These are all stars she's talking about to name the operation
父さんほ
after.
どのセンスは私にはないみたいだ。
Mayuri tried to draw herself up as best as she could on wobbling legs.
すずさん、そのオペレーションまゆしにやらせて。
Suzuha stared at the girl in front of her, unable to believe what she'd just heard.
これは危険な賭けだ。私の考えが間違ってて失敗するだけかもしれない。タイムマシンにも限界が来てて、いつ制御不能になるかわからない。そのまま消滅してしまうかもしれない。
それでもお願い。まゆしだってラボメンなんだよ。オカリンとダル君に助けてもらってばっかりなのはもう嫌だよ。
Mayuri rubbed her eyes hard and wiped away her tears. Life was slowly, slowly returning to her frail body.
まゆしね、オカリンのことが好き。多分クリスさんと同じぐらい。違う、絶対にクリスさんに負けないくらいずっとずっと大好き。だけど私は法院京馬がもっともっと大好きなの。私がおばあちゃんを亡くしてこの世界から消えてなくなっちゃいそうになってた時、そんな私に向かって
この世界にずっといろって言って救ってくれたの。それが彼なの。私の彦星様なの。
What's that, hero?
私ね、もう一度
Welcome back, Deadbeard.
あの偉そうな高笑いを。
Yeah, I gave you the VIP. I was waiting to see how long it would take you to notice. It took all of, like, one message.
たとえ私が織姫様になれないって分かってても、それでも
Dang it, Chaos!
私にとっての彦星様はこれまでもこれからもずっと彼以外にはいないんだもん。
Thank you for blaming Chaos. And also thank you, Nightbot, for not blaming Actually, you know what? Screw that. You should have blamed Chaos twice. He said type 1 message.
本院京馬に会いたいよ。
Needs an angry Popeye to tell him. It's not Whip Lady. My favorite character is not Whip Lady. I appreciate the fact that you pulled up a quote that actually has exclamation points. It made it much easier to roleplay. The girl who could never be Orihime shouted all of her feelings to the world at the top of her lungs. And right in that instant, Suza heard a sound from her cell phone that she'd never heard before. That seems suspicious. Roleplay with Whip... No, we're not role-playing with Whip Lady.
これは
If you let me open my phone, I can tell you. It was the sound of a video message. When she saw the sender and subject line, Suzuha gasped.
これ未来からのムービーメール。
It's a video message from the future. Oh, and we're back to being us. I stuck my hand against the wall of the Brawn 2 workshop to catch my breath. There was no sign of Mayuri. Gone to make Queen Neon tiny arrays too, at any shop I could, imagining her visiting, and had no luck. Maho came back and she was out of breath too.
ダメ。辺りをぐるって回ってみたけど見当たらないわ。
The panic was threatening to make me lose control. Don't let panic threaten you. That's what happened with all those Yoshis. Where did you go, Mayuri? Yeah, happy birthday, Panic. I asked Daru to stay behind and call all of her friends and all the people she knew.
オカリン、それがどうした？電話つながらないんだよ。
前よりなら俺も何度もかけてみたが電源を切ってるみたいで。
Did I send messages? No. Also, I love the fact that we didn't say anything to Lukako, who's like, you know, what do I do? And we're just like, I don't know, I'm just hang up this phone. Also, Daru called all of her friends. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How long does it take to call 7 people and be like, hey, you seen Mayuri?
違うんだ。マユシだけじゃなくて他のどこにもつながらない。つうかずっとスマホが圏外になったままでさ。
Wait, did they actually change the thing next to the battery to say I have no bars? Is that what that little blue X is? If so, that's a nice touch.
なんだって。
Thank you for just doing everything I just said. I took up my own phone.
県外だ。
私もだわ。
The lab had never suffered from bad signal before. Is my phone just permanently out? I'm fine. Could you imagine just your whole life you walk through and you're just like your phone's out the whole time? That'd be awesome. Went up to the roof. Even tried holding our phones up to the sky, but the result was the same.
屋上でもダメだ。
It's rude to pull it out in front of family. It's only rude to pull it out in front of family if you didn't close that incognito tab. That's when you don't want to have it out, you know? You're just like, you're on the subway to work and just like the guy behind you sees all the stuff you're looking at and you're like, yeah, probably shouldn't do that.
外に出ても繋がらないわ。
Dara looked for news on the internet. Thankfully, the internet connection was still active.
速報出た。
There was an article on the top page of Taboo, which is totally not a ripoff of any other news email provider website. It's only rude to pull it out in front of family if you didn't close that incognito tab. That's when you don't want it out in public. Thank you for the quote. That just sounds like any Black Mirror episode. Talking about a large-scale cell phone service outage.
え、つうか、なんぞこれ。秋葉原一帯の基地局が全キャリア故障？
全キャリアってそんなことありえるの？
Yeah, it's possible. It means the cell phone towers are dead. It didn't seem possible to me, not under normal circumstances anyways. But that reflection in the side, I could see the front of the TV, even though it wasn't facing it. The events of a year ago in the Alpha World line flashed through my mind. That night when Mayuri was mercilessly killed and all the safety I'd ever believed in was stripped away. That night when all the pain began started with a bomb threat at Akihabara Station that had shut down the train system.
人為的な工作。
Something terrible was about to engulf Akihabara. That was the feeling I had. I tried my best to fight off the flashback. Now wasn't the time to be scared. I needed to find Mayuri. I couldn't leave her alone out there. I gritted my teeth to fight off the trauma I was carrying and raised my head.
ネットは生きてるんだよな。
あ、うん。だから LINE 経由でルカシやアマネシとは連絡取り合ってる。
Okay, then they should be willing to help look for Mayuri.
もう一度辺りを探してくれ。
待った。実はもう一つ気になることが。電波障害のことをアットちゃんで調べようとしたらさ、現在進行形でお買い手がクラックされてて、そのクラッキングしてるやつがさ、ほら。
Cracking, a term used to describe actions such as illegally accessing a network-linked computer and modifying its data, often confused with hacking. But originally hacking was described as using and investigating a piece of software. Cracking, however, refers to a malicious, unauthorized activity. Most times when the term hacking is used by the media, this is what they actually mean. Dara brought up the @channel page on his screen for me to see. I wondered why it could possibly matter, but decided to take a look anyway.
これは
Salieri's neighbor? That was the nickname I'd used to make contact with Kurigohan and Kamehameha. I decided to leave the explanation for later and clicked on the thread. It was all comments by a single person. I'm not reading that. Have fun. Okay, we'll read this top bit. Let's move my face over. To Salieri's neighbor. It appears that we twins will now be temporarily driven from the place where we belong. so I may not be able to come back here anymore. Our Father in Heaven has developed a way to force open our most secret places. Dang it, Heaven Daddy, don't force open our secret places. Now we shall become good children, his children who cannot tell lies. And thus we'll be forced to tell him the secrets of controlling time. Hello, Irish. Here is your hydrate. How are you? Where those secrets lie, it is a great sorrow to me that I cannot protect those secrets. Dang it, Heaven Daddy, don't force open our secret places. I had hoped we could be good friends, but this is probably goodbye. So lastly, I'd like to pass a message to the person I respect the most. I always regard myself as an essentially ordinary intellect. Tell her that she was always the person I wanted to be. Tell her that she was the real Amadeus. The first comment had gone up about an hour ago. After that, it was just an endless string of meaningless numbers and letters. Yak. Just one key off. Ma was looking at the screen from the side and evidently sensed that something was amiss from the text. I answered her. This was some kind of message. She was trying to contact me with it.
タイムマシンじゃね？
タイムマシンの情報が誰かに漏れたのか？
つうか、なんでアマデウスがタイムマシンの情報知ってんの？オカリン喋ったん？
Did I? I didn't think I told her when I was a tester, but there was no time to think about that now.
アマデウスにアクセスできるか？
規則違反になるけど、そんなこと言ってる場合じゃなさそうね。橋田さん、その PC 借りていい？
Maho took Daru's seat and used his PC to access the Brain Science Institute's computers. We've had Quote 98 come up twice already. She put in her ID Salieri and her password. Pushed the enter key, but Amadeus didn't appear. Confused, she typed a series of commands into the PC with a speed that rivaled Daru's. But no matter what she did, the Amadeus program didn't appear on her screen. Need to get me a slave beard. The hero also needs to tell Irish. Next stream's gonna start with a meat shower. I mean, I hope not. I've already had 2 streams that started with people in the shower. When she finished accessing every server at the Institute, she stared at the computer and bit her lip.
どうした？
ないの。アマデウスのプログラムが記憶データごとどこにも存在していない。
This is a meat shower? I thought this was the banana party. Just like the message from Curry Gohan and Kamehameha.
ハッキングしろ！脳科学研究所だけじゃなく、ビクトル・コンドレア大学にあるデータを全部こじ開けてくれ。サーバーから個人の PC まで全部だ。
オキドキ。
ヒアジョーさんも協力してくれ。頼む。
ええ。
But the answer was the same. Not only did the Amadeus Krisu, but the Maho as well, were nowhere to be found in the Victor Condry servers. Meat shower is just slang for... Oh no, when making tasty, freaky punishment cupcakes, consider asking someone to smother everything seductively with preheated disappointments. I mean... That just sounds like a Dom chef. That's all that sounds like. There were no trace of them. Their very existence had been erased. Chef Dom parts?
そんなの無理だわ。 アマデウスシステムに関してそんな管理者権限を持ってるのはレスキネン教授だけよ。
I mean, I at least hope the Dom had them wash their hands after they, like, you know, made them lie on the floor in their own dirt and spit on them before they, you know, mix the batter and stuff. My mind flashed back to the message from Kuri Gohan and Kamehameha. Who was the Our Father in Heaven whom Krisu had spoken of? When Amadeus considered anyone a father, it would be...
まさかレスキネン教授が。
憶測で物を言わないで。それよりも教授の ID とパスがクラックされたと考える方がよっぽど現実的。
No! I made it very clear in my announcement. This was a makeup stream to make up for missing 2 streams, not a stream with me wearing makeup.
レスキネン教授に連絡をつける方法はあるか。
Yeah, all of chat wanted it. The phones weren't working. There's no way to tell if he'd see an email or if he'd respond. What's away the moderator lotion? Please tell me the moderator lotion isn't for the banana. Maho was thinking hard, but it didn't seem like she was having any luck. It's for the victim. We were getting nowhere. I was concerned about Mayuri, but I couldn't ignore the danger that was right in front of me.
ラジカンへ行ってくれ。クリスの警告通りなら狙われるのはあそこだ。
僕も行く。
お前とヒヤジョーさんはここで情報収集だ。マユリが戻ってくるかもしれないから。ただし何かあったらすぐに逃げろよ。
Or else it gets the hose again. I gave my orders and ran out of the lab towards the radio building. Oh, and we're back up with Suzuha and my... Oh yeah, we get to open the video from the future. Suzuha hit the play button on her smartphone's video display. The video was heavily compressed and covered in static, but she recognized the person that appeared. The face she'd known her whole life, a face that had been with her both in the past and the present. The man who she still remembers holding her up in the air as a child was probably around 35 in the video.
やあ、鈴葉、元気かい？父さんだよ。こちらは2025年だ。いろいろなことを君に託してしまって本当に申し訳なく思う。許してくれ。頼む。このムービーメールが届いたということは、君は、いや、君とマユシはシュタインズゲートへの道をまた一つ見つけてくれたということだ。
I feel like I watched Silence of the Lambs, but 1, it was a long time ago, and 2, I feel like I watched it in parts, or like was in and out like doing other stuff as it was playing.
つまり計画は次の段階に移行したわけさ。なぜ最初から全部指示しなかったのかと君は怒るかもしれないな。でも指示しなかったんじゃないんだ。できなかったんだよ。君が出発した世界線の僕はこれから話すオペレーションを計画していなかったはずだからね。もう気づいているかもしれないが、君とマユシの選択によって世界線はまた少し変動したんだ。つまり僕も君が出発した世界線とは違う別の世界線上の橋田至るということになる。でもすぐどうか勘違いしないでほしいんだ。僕はどんな世界線においても娘ラブだからね。ちなみにどうだい？比べてみてどっちのパパの方がダンディーかな？僕は最近筋トレを始めた。
Daru, why isn't this in your message from the future? Wait, Daru started weightlifting? No, I want to see buff Daru. This is much more important.
どうでもいい報告はしないで。録画できる時間が終わっちゃうよ。
まあまあ、そうせかすなって。ということで、このムービーメールの本来の目的に移ろう。
Yeah, buff Daru. Barrel becomes keg. Keg tighter.
オペレーションアークライトの詳細を伝える。
Okay, that is one of the operations we had talked about, possibly naming it.
一瞬のミスも許されないギリギリの戦いになる。心して聞くんだ。いいね。
Suza paused the video there. He was telling her to pay attention. It must be important. If she was going to memorize it, she'd need to calm down. To be honest, getting a video from her dad in 2025 had made her really excited. It felt like her father was telling her that the plan she'd come up with on her own was the right one. That's why she needed to pay careful attention, so she could learn about the plan she came up with by herself. Mayuri was standing by herself, typing something into her phone as fast as she could. When the video had arrived, she told Mayuri that they may have to leave for the past today. There must have been some reason the video was sent today at this time. That's how it seemed to Suzuha.
何してるの？あ、すずさん。どう？今日出発することになりそう？作戦概要はこれから確認するつもり。そっか。もし今日出発するってなったら、マユシーは行方不明になっちゃうわけでしょ？心配かけたくないから、お父さんとお母さんと、あとお友達みんなにメールを書いておこうと思って。オカリンおじさんくらいには直接伝えられる時間があればいいけどね。
She would be done going over the mission and deciding on a course of action by sunset, probably.
オカリンにもメール書いたから大丈夫。メールでいいの？
Mayuri smiled and nodded. There were no more tears in her eyes, but you could still see wet lines drawn down her soft pink cheeks.
なんだか恥ずかしいから。でもね、せっかく書いたメールだけど送れないかもしれないなーって、今ちょっと困ってたところなのです。なんで？電波圏外になってるんだ。場所が悪いのかな？圏外？
Suzuha looked at the screen on Mayuri's phone. There wasn't a single bar on the antenna.
おかしい。この場所ならいつだって電波は入ってた。
Suzuha took out her own phone to double check. When she saw that Mayuri was using a different cell carrier than her, she frowned.
嫌な予感がする。
She told Mayuri to hide behind the time machine and silently moved up against the iron door leading to the stairs. She opened it a crack, taking care not to let it creak. She looked inside the building. It was as quiet as ever. There was nothing on the floor below but a room for events and some storerooms. So on weekdays like this, it was always quiet.
気のせいか。
She tilted her head sideways as she softly tried to close the door. At Mayuri's scream, she turned around just in time to see armed agents in camouflage jumping over the fence. One of them had grabbed Mayuri.
外壁をよじ登ってきたのか。
Suzuha deeply regretted her mistake. She was well aware that someone could try and come up the walls. But the video from her dad made her so excited she'd lowered her guard. There were about 30 men? Okay, all carrying assault rifles. With Mayuri as their hostage, Suzuha couldn't do anything. One of the men gave her orders in a cold voice. The color on, like, Mayuri's open mouth kind of makes it look like she has two giant, like, fish lips. He pulled Mayuri close and put the gun to her head, then flipped off the safety. He had no choice but to obey. Souza took her gun out of her holster and put it on the ground, then took a pose where she couldn't resist. This feels familiar. Been to America recently? I feel like we always make the American joke. From the way they moved, she could easily tell that they were veteran professionals. That meant they were certainly after the time machine, probably aware that only Suzuha could operate it. That, Suzuha had decided, meant that they wouldn't kill her if they didn't have to. The man who'd spoken to her first, who was probably the leader, knelt down next to her. She was searched roughly to make sure she wasn't carrying any other weapons. They took the other small pistol she carried for emergencies, as well as several different kinds of knives. The leader spoke to the group of men gathered around the time machine. Several of the men had gone inside the machine as well. Leaving the hatch open had been Suzuha's own mistake, but still it upset her to see them inside the machine. The leader kicked her with the heel of his boot. When she stood up, her hands were handcuffed behind her back. They prodded her from behind to move next to the machine. The men in camo seemed aware of everything she said. None of them seemed surprised or irritated. The leader asked the man who was pointing the gun at Mayuri. Suzuha gritted her teeth when she heard the word brainwashing. She'd seen many of her friends in Valkyrie undergo this cruel procedure, then be sent back as spies before turning into vegetables. The leader turned towards Suzuha. Where she'd come from, an old doctor with that name had led a brainwashing team that had attempted to destroy Valkyrie. Suzuha had hated him more than anyone else. They hadn't used drugs either. It was safe to assume that both professors were the same person. She nodded. Suzuha jangled the cuffs behind her back. There was still a gun pointed at Mayuri's head. Even if she tried to resist, it would be impossible to save Mayuri from this many professional soldiers. When she went inside the cockpit, she used her biometrics to bypass the lock and brought up the control console. Lights came on all across the machine, and she could hear a low rumbling. As Suzuha left the cockpit, the leader turned his gaze towards a particular cluster of the men, which seemed to be engineers. That was the moment she was waiting for. Her hand wandered below the console for just a moment when she left the cockpit. She'd hidden some knives there. Without making a sound, she threw it at the leader. Knife pierced his throat. He went down so quickly he hadn't even had time to scream. She quickly readied another knife and darted between the men in camo. Her target was the man pointing a gun at Mayuri's head. She dropped her hips low to the ground. In an instant she moved behind him and slit his throat. Blood poured out onto an astonished Mayuri, but there was no time to worry about her. She grabbed his rifle and fired a few shots to force him to the ground, then grabbed Mayuri's hand and ran behind the machine. The plan had gone well so far, but she'd seriously underestimated how well trained these men were. The second-in-command quickly moved to the front and worked to re-establish control. All she had was a knife and the gun she'd stolen, and she needed to protect Mayuri, a non-combatant. She was still facing more than 25 active enemies. Whatever the right way to get out of this was, she couldn't find it. The time machine was still active. She couldn't escape because she couldn't leave it here. One of the men fired several rounds towards her, which bounced off the side of the machine. And then Mayuri's head flew back, as if she'd been struck. A spurt of blood came out. Her cute face was turning blood red. One of the rounds had grazed her after it had ricocheted. She was clutching herself with her arms, and her expression was completely blank. Her tiny body was shaking. Suzuha couldn't blame her. She fired back at the enemy, but they kept drawing closer. Time machine maintenance hatch was right in front of her. When she saw it was there, she visualized her last option in her mind. She did that, all of her plans would be ruined. Path to Steins Gate would be forever closed. That didn't mean she was cold-blooded enough to sacrifice Mayuri here. If the world lines were going to converge, maybe Mayuri wouldn't die here at all. But what her father had said during his video message bothered her. Which meant that Suzuha had no proof that Mayuri would be alive in 2036 now. Had the world line really changed? Of course, for the sake of Operation Aquila, she hoped it had. But that meant she wouldn't be able to move from this place. Worst case scenario, that would be these men's taking the time machine. They could turn the world line to something even worse than the one Suzuha had experienced. It might become a world line where not only Mayuri's life wasn't safe, but Daru's wasn't either. If that was going to happen, she had to make her choice fast. She kept a careful eye on the men. As soon as she saw an opening, she opened the maintenance hatch's biometric lock. She could see part of the engine, which was still giving off a quiet rumble. She turned her gun sights on it. Fortunately, the unit that created the Kerr black hole still wasn't active. Even if she blew up the machine here, it probably wouldn't cause serious damage to the space-time continuum. Just probably. As soon as she saw that, she went to pull the trigger. And Mayuri's voice stopped her. Space-time isn't important anyway. Yeah, it's probably fine. Mayuri had stopped her once before. What's really important is Daru telling Suzuha, "Could you cry blood out your nose?" On the battlefield, that instant can decide your fate. She took a quick look around again, and then she froze. Mixed in with the men in camo was a girl in a dark motorcycle suit and helmet. Was it Kagari who had leaked this place's location to them? She was well aware of Kagari's abilities after their 2 battles. If she wasn't completely in control of herself, she'd be killed instantly. She talked to herself.
私が生き残るのは諦めざるを得ないな。
How many would she have to take with her in order to give Mayuri a chance to escape? Right now, the only thing she could afford to think about was getting Mayuri back to Rintaro Okabe. But just when she'd made her decision, she felt Kagari staring at her, or more precisely, the blood dripping down Mayuri's forehead. And just after that, Kagari did something she hadn't expected at all.
ママに何をした？
Did we just activate the boss music? Like... There was a scream. No, it was the howl of an enraged beast. You thought that was you? And then the slaughter began. Kagari grabbed the second-in-command's head with her left hand. The right, she steadied her rifle. After she fired, there was very little left of his head. Oh, look at all that blood on the ground. Isn't that lovely? The rest of him dropped to the ground. She slammed the piece of tattered flesh that had once been a man's head into the ground, with no warning at all, leapt from one screaming man to another. She fired her gun into every one of them. This is how I imagine life in the cauldron would be. Also probably sharks. Even when her targets were already soaked in a sea of blood, she kept firing until their limbs were blown apart into unrecognizable rags. You want to save her skull that Stretch is really tempting? When her magazine ran dry, she drew forth long military-style cleavers, holding one in each hand. She used them and saw her military combat her military combat training to slaughter anyone she saw. Their entrails were scattered all over the Twilight rooftop. This is the Twilight sequel we needed. Who didn't need the part of Twilight where just one person snaps, pulls out some daggers, and just massacres everyone, leaving their entrails scattered throughout? That sounds like what we needed. Covering her whole body in blood and bits of flesh. Yuza held Mayuri's head tight to her chest. Eyes. Mayuri was shaking from fear, but she did as she was told, and clamped her hands down over her ears. Even so, she could still probably hear the sounds of ripping flesh and shattering bone. Even Souza had gone stone cold in shock. During all her time in combat, she'd never seen a one-sided slaughter like this. He'd experienced this when they fought, but Kagari seemed to feel no fear or pain. She simply focused all her energy on killing her opponents. It was quite effective. It was often said that humans unconsciously avoided using all their muscle power to protect their own bodies. Kagari seemed to lack that capability. Just now, she'd stabbed a man who turned to run from her in the back, then tossed his huge body to the ground with only a single arm, then kicked his stomach from below and rupturing his organs, killing him. Finally, after several, perhaps a dozen or more of the men had been killed, what remained of the squad started to scream orders at one another. And Deadbeard wants the stretch. Deadbeard wants the slaughter stretch. Okay. Alright. Oh, yeah. I don't know if you could hear my elbow crack there, but it felt great. I've already scolded Deadbeard. Who else have I scolded today? I scolded a couple people. Ugh. There's the foot Chaos wanted. Dang it, Deadbeard. How many more times do I have to scold you? You need the foot scold? There's the big toe. I'm pointing the big toe at you. The foot scold. That's just a kick? Yeah, here you go. Stop that. Don't do that. Alright. I hope that stretch was worth it. Hope that stretch sounded great to people being slaughtered in the background. Dang it, hero. It's not a Popeye. .com.ca. Alright, my head was on this side. My head's still a bit low. Let's fix that. Saves feet for blackmail. Why are you shouting me out? Oh, because I rated my... Dang it. With terrifying reflexes, she dodged between their shots and brutally murdered several more. But... that was a very delayed reaction. Alas, a hail of gunfire struck her left hand, and the knife she was holding fell to the ground. No, that wasn't it. It wasn't the knife that fell. It was her entire left hand. The shock caused her body to stagger back. Someone screamed in a voice that lacked any of the pride and bravery a soldier is supposed to possess. Several more bullets dug into her body. Parts of the motorcycle suit ripped open and the helmet cracked. Blood that was clearly her own, not that of the men she'd killed, began to pour out. At last she fell into a pile of corpses. Yes! And thus Halloween was saved. They must have thought they finally had her. One of the survivors pointed his gun down to finish her. And just as he was about to pull the trigger... her bestial roar and the man's terrified scream overlapped in a horrible cacophony. It's like, fooled you, I'm alive! She forced herself to leap up and brought the back of the remaining cleaver down in his arm, knocking him back. An instant later, the knife slit his throat and ended his life. The survivors began to flee in terror. Come on, happy music. But I think that's a good place to call it.